Hello, Gran Turismo fans. Hello, motorsport fans. It is round one of the ATK Pro Series happening on Gran Turismo Sport, of course, powered by Mercedes-Benz. As you can see by the trident on the screen over there, and also Kalami 9 Hour and Motorsport South Africa. This is the official start to the Pro Division of the Gran Turismo leg of our Pro Series, and this is where all the best Gran Turismo drivers from across the country, 13 of them, compete against each other to find out which one is the best in a series of races across our championship, all behind the wheel of very powerful, potent Mercedes-Benz cars. The first circuit is, of course, Blue Moon Circuit. This is a circuit built into Gran Turismo and kind of reminds me of some of the sports car circuits over in the US with their fast sweeping banked corners and tight infield sections. Our drivers will be tested today in Mercedes-Benz AMG hatchbacks So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they do in a road car battle with the top Gran Turismo drivers across the country. Of course, I'm joined as always by Marius Roberts in the commentary booth. And for those of you guys that are new to this, we've done a full season of this kind of racing in Assetto Corsa, but this is notably the first time we've done it on Gran Turismo, and this is round one, Marius. And for the first time, the circuit is a circuit that you might not have actually driven on in real life.
But I think this is flipping awesome. You know, we spoke 2 weeks ago, Ernest, when we did the seeding run with the GT Sport guys. And like, for me, this is, I think Gran Turismo was the birth of sim racing for most guys. I mean, that is what I played. Gran Turismo was my thing. So this is kind of, I love it. And I love the fact that they've joined the ATK Pro Series. I think it's super, super cool. And obviously having Mercedes-Benz come on board as sponsors, what a great showcase to be able to, because of the nature of Gran Turismo, to be able to pick the very, very best of Mercedes-Benz products, new, old, iconic Formula One, and get the guys to go door to door in identical cars. We know with Assetto Corsa, the guys are picking cars that work for them. Some work, some don't. Whereas here now, it really is a showcase of true driver talent because everyone is in the same machinery. And that makes it super exciting. So I'm looking forward. Obviously, we didn't really have a good idea watching the seeding run because it was like a super qualifying. But now we're going to get to see the guys go door to door. And I think that is going to be super exciting because the times the guys were running in seeding, they were super close. We've got qualifying coming up. But I think all of these guys are going to be there and thereabouts. And that A45 AMG is a flipping pocket rocket. But the guys are running on road tires. And you're right, a circuit, yeah, I haven't driven. A circuit that for me, you think it looks like the American circuits. Yeah, it does, but it also looks like a Formula One steering wheel. I love it. But chatting to the guys 2 weeks ago, it's obviously got some bank curbs. So it's pretty much like your Daytona layout with an infield. So there'll be a lot of slipstreaming and drafting. And we're told that in Gran Turismo, drafting is a real big deal. It actually has maybe an exaggerated effect. So looking forward to seeing how the guys are able to use that on the bank curves and then obviously the technical bit on the infield.
Well, for the guys at home out there, they want to see if they can match these lap times. Maybe jump on the chat and let us know if you're faster than some of our pro drivers here. The car is a 2013 AMG A45 4MATIC, one of the original super hatches, or what do they call the ultra hatch, the top spec. It's hotter than a hot hatch, if you will. And then in the, Marius, you were saying?
No, okay. I mean, Ernest, that's what I said. I mean, it's cool that, like, now, obviously, all the talk is around the new A45 and the progression of a 2-liter turbo. And if you look at, I know DTM has now changed, but back in those days, 2013, the talk was the shift to 2-liter turbos in DTM. So that is why Mercedes-Benz has had that opportunity to showcase the 2-liter. And you look at the performance being produced out of the new stock of A45s from a 2-liter, it's just absolutely crazy and mind-blowing. And when this car launched back in 2013, we actually went to the international launch, which was at an amazing circuit, Bilsterberg, which is like a baby Nürburgring, privately owned. And Lewis Hamilton flew in his private plane and was there to take to show us the way around the track and take a couple of us for hot laps. So it was a big deal, this car, for Mercedes-Benz when it launched, and now it literally is probably the hot hatch to own. Crazy price tag though, but it's going to be interesting to see what these guys can do in their 2013 original version.
265 kilowatts, 355 horsepower is what these guys have to tame today around the Blue Moon Speedway. Category they're running is N400 for you guys at home. So if you want to try and beat the times, you want to try and see if you can match up to some of the best sim racers in the country on Gran Turismo Sport, now is your chance to do so. Of course, this would not be possible without Mercedes-Benz ATK Arena, Kyalami 9 Hour, and Motorsport South Africa. And interestingly, again, speaking of Motorsport South Africa, Marius, this is an official sanctioned event. These guys are competing for real prizes, and whoever wins this is going to find themselves potentially behind the wheel of a real car at some stage.
Yeah, I think that for me is one thing that I think we'll all remember in terms of Gran Turismo pioneering that as well. Their partnership with Nissan in those days, where they were the first guys to kind of take gaming to the real world. Luca Ordonez was obviously the first big winner. Race Le Mans, you've mentioned a few times. Cars.co.za, Ashley Oldfield, who won our Africa Dubai category and kind of catapulted his racing career.
Jonathan Mokgotsi as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's it really is cool that we've incorporated the other side of the game now as well. Like Assetto Corsa is there, and that we can obviously look after the guys from a Gran Turismo perspective as well. Obviously, a bit of a challenge for you and I, like you said right in the beginning of the stream. Last year we spent 12 rounds getting to know our Assetto Corsa racing drivers, but this is new for us in terms of getting to know these guys. So just people that are new to the stream, I mean, we'll get to know who's who in the zoo. I am glad we've been given their real names, because in true gaming, they've all got RTA, Safa, and Dion. It's like they've got game names. But we'll obviously go with the full name. So we're learning our way in this as well. But I think it's exciting for us to be given some new challenges too.
Exactly. We are learning some new names, of course, and some of those new names, like you're saying, RTA Safa. Funny you should mention him, Kyle Oosthuizen. He's been tipped to be one of the guys to watch. So watch out for Kyle Oosthuizen to see how he does in that AMG A45. Stefan Mocker as well, also one of the quicker guys, DMR SMP3 Pro. I don't think he could have chosen a more complicated name, but okay, we'll go with that. And then Stefan Wessels, easy to spot, RTA Donkey 27. He could be one of them. I'm trying to say this with a straight face. I'm trying to say it with a straight face, but not
playing
possible.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah, not possible. But he's also one of the quicker guys. And of course, we've got a whole bunch of other guys, 13 in total. And we've also got coming soon into the commentary box with us, Steve Berry, who will be joining us later on. And he is our resident Gran Turismo competitor and resident Gran Turismo expert, and he'll be giving us some of the inside lines on how Gran Turismo works. And once we figured it out ourselves, then we don't need him anymore. But until then, hopefully Steve and the guys from the GT League, GTSA, can give us all those helpful tips to guide us on this journey.
I think it's also cool just in terms of adding what we like to call the meat to the commentary. You and I will call what we see. But, in the other racing, we kind of know the guys now. We've been on their journey. We know what cars they drove last year. We know their backgrounds. These are all new guys for us. So, that's the meat that we kind of like to add to that sandwich. So looking forward to having him on board, giving us some of the inside tracks there as well. What was quite cool, the guys are super involved in the online chat and also through social media, because I know there were a couple of the guys that were commenting, you guys didn't like our liveries, and hopefully our liveries will be better for this race. So that's what's also cool, is that the guys are racing in teams. So they're obviously racing all with cars that pretty much are identical and look the same in terms of livery. So they really are making it a challenge for us to spot the guys. But I love that. I love that there was banter just after the seeding run between you and I and a couple of the competitors in terms of our liveries. And that's what we're looking for. I mean, this is a community that we want to expand. And it's really cool to have the guys, throwing some darts at us already. So it's going to be fun.
Oh, plenty of darts are going to be flying as these guys make their way around the Blue Moon circuit. I did a couple of onboard laps earlier on today to try and get an idea of it. And
Do
like
you not
say,
work?
Say again?
Do you not work?
No, this is work.
No, I get it, but I mean, I'd love to do this type of work as well, because I did a few laps in Assetto Corsa, I did a few laps at Blue Moon and Gran Turismo. I'm like, I'm sitting, I don't know, mowing the lawn, taking out the garbage. I must come and work with Ernest Page.
Now we've got to make the most of our lockdown time at home, and I certainly am behind the wheel of the simulator. But these guys, as we say, are the top 13 guys. They've got a bunch of divisions, all of them racing tonight, 4 divisions if I'm not mistaken, and these guys bubbled to the surface out of over 50 entrants. So you really do have the cream of the crop here, and eventually once we get used to the names such as RTA Donkey 27, I think we're going to start recognizing the talent just like we have in the Assetto Corsa version, and start predicting how these guys are going to be doing. Of course, this is going to be a 10-minute qualifying that will be happening very shortly, and then straight into the 40-minute race straight after that. No pit stops today. And of course, there will also be relegation based on qualifying. So we've got Jonathan Bentz in the commentary booth with us here at the moment. Jonathan Bentz, our technical advisor, if you will, and expert in all things sim racing. Jonathan, any words from you before we go into round 1 of the Pro Division for Gran Turismo Sport?
Ooh, I'd like to think that today's race will reflect what we saw yesterday in the Assetto Corsa leg of the competition, where we had a very high standard of driving amongst all the drivers, and we were very impressed by that. So I'd love to see how this pans out today. I mean, this is the cream of the crop when it comes to the GT Sport guys, so I'm really excited to see how this goes.
Yeah.
Jonathan, it's also really cool. I mean, you heard us talking about it now. So nice to go. If you think back to the greatest racing time in South Africa in terms of Standard Group N, and then you look at the success story that is Polo Cup here in South Africa. I think going on 25 years now. The single make racing adds massive value, and that's what GT Sport allows us. You know, you and I have been chatting and earnest about, like, last year, and said, of course, the Porsche was good this year. We're not seeing any Porsche. There's none of that for these guys, because every round they're in identical equipment. So that really does make for super, super close racing. And I imagine, from your opinion, qualifying becomes super key here, because you actually want to put your car right up at the top and get a clean run, because you know there's going to be proper British touring car fighting going on behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say that there is usually, in the races, there's usually quite a marked difference between driving at the pointy end of the field and then, you know, fighting with the mid pack or the back of the pack. It's, I wouldn't say a different quality of racing, but it's a different almost style of racing. So you definitely want to get up as high as you can.
Yeah, you know, Jonathan, it's true. You know, the thing is, you just can't get into a rhythm. I mean, we don't know the circuit very well, but like yesterday at Imola, it's a rhythm circuit. You know, you want to be able to just, you know, put in lap after lap after lap. And that's the problem. If you end up, and we see it in Formula One, we see it in all the racing. Even the top drivers have a bad qualifying and they find themselves in, you know, 8th or 9th position, and suddenly they're involved in dogfights that they're not normally involved in. And they can't have their optimal line, and that can ruin a whole race. The thing for me, though, these guys are running on road tires. I know it's all-wheel drive in the A45, but managing your tires is now going to be so crucial, because these aren't race tires. So that's something the guys need to consider as well over a 40-minute race.
For sure. And we're so used to seeing, you know, the GT3 spec cars with their fancy slicks and all that stuff. So it's good to see the road cars getting some love and, you know, slightly less grip we'll be seeing tonight, so we'll hear a lot more tire screeching and front wheel drive understeer.
And you know what's cool though, Ernest, what you brought up earlier, it's a really nice thing where we can actually, the hard thing with Assetto Corsa is we know how crucial the setup is, and the racers are spending a lot of time getting their car optimized. But sitting and running here with everyone's on the exact same setup of the car, there is no difference from car to car. That for me allows the guy at home, like you said, you go and try it, set your car up the same, and let's see if you can set that lap time. So I think the point of entry with Gran Turismo is a lot easier for you to pit yourself against the pros and realize, dude, I've got a long way to go, as opposed to Assetto Corsa where there's so much development that goes into setting up before you even have a real chance.
Oh yeah, the One Make series get me very excited, because we get to see who the best of the best are in similar equipment. And any good race car driver has the mentality of, given the same equipment, I can beat anyone. And that's what these guys here are certainly here to figure out. We've got about 1 minute to go before we start with qualifying. And I definitely think this road car situation is going to become a problem for some of these guys. Tire management in a four-wheel drive hatchback, it can't be easy.
But you know what the other thing is? I mean, you know the problem that plagues all flipping all-wheel drives. I mean, they've got a lot better now as they've managed to dial more rear bias into the cars. But it's very, very easy. Those cars just understeer like pigs. So you've really got to be so patient before you come on the power, because come on the power too early and it's got drive and it understeers. So you've got to manage tire wear there too. But what I love about the series is going on single manufacturer Mercedes-Benz, but your variety of cars. There's Formula One, there's super powerful rear-wheel drive cars, there's old cars. So at the end of this 6-round series, the guy that wins this is a guy that can literally drive the socks off of anything. He's not geared up for GT3 cars only, or he's a great guy in a Formula One car. So this for me makes this a great series.
Well, we're going to cut to ads for a moment, and we'll be right back after this with the qualifying of round 1. Here we go, folks, round one, and I gotta say, it's quite exciting to see cars like this maneuver their way around the second. Look at that slip angle as he hits that bump over there into the first corner. The car absolutely sliding. Some small tweaks can be made to these cars, but not much. Oh, that's very nice. They're up against that wall. Oh my goodness, I think this is gonna be an exciting race.
How nuts is the transitions though? I mean, so, here, we're not dealing with setup of car. It's a standard setup for everyone. But can you imagine, as a guy in a proper race car where you can get your setup right, imagine trying to get the car set up to be able to handle that transition on and off the bank curve onto the infield. But you can see the all-wheel drive nature of this car. I mean, it literally is like skating on ice, and that's also thanks in part to the road tires that the guys are having to play with. But Ernest, you and I spoke about this during the seeding run, and I think if Stephen's joined us, he can jump in and comment as well. What I love about this, we know in a Assetto Corsa, you've got to have the right equipment, and the guys are running with some pretty cool rigs. But what I find amazing is a couple of the guys in the Pro Division are running with flipping controllers, stock standard controllers, and you look at it, you think, wow, how are they getting throttle modulation like this? It's unbelievable. That for me is super cool as well, is that it's not about having the best steering and rig at home. Guys with thumbs are doing some top things.
Well, all you need is a PlayStation and 2 thumbs and off you go. And that's exactly what we want this to be. We've got all levels going on in the Pro Series. We've got ultra competitive racing on every level, and you can go from a sim rig to a controller and back again if you wanted to across the two different games. And as we said before, this is one of the reasons we've got Gran Turismo here. This is one of the reasons we've got Assetto Corsa. We've got all those bases covered, but I do think the front running guys for the most part will be running wheels. As we see now, the times are starting to be set, and already notice how close the top three are, with DMR, the team DMR guys, taking the top 2 spots so far.
Yeah, so what's that, Jean de Jager, I think, sitting in the top position. Nice to go on board as well and just have a look at the sort of speeds they're doing, because what I love about this is accessible to most motorists. Okay, maybe not the new one in terms of price point, but the type of speed you're looking at here is something that you can kind of fathom. You're not talking 280 kilometers an hour and that type of stuff that most guys are going, that's never ever going to happen. And that's what I like about this. If you remember your first days in Gran Turismo, you went and got yourself a Honda Civic that you bought secondhand, and you learned to race. And I think what I love about that is the racecraft that you learn driving underpowered cars. Now, I'm not saying this is an underpowered car. In no ways is it. It's a super hot hatch. But in terms of the cars that you have access to racing, this is entry level. And I think it takes a real quality driver to optimize performance out of a car like this, lap after lap, to be consistent on road tires and keep it tidy for 40 minutes. It's going to be a cracker race, because all of these guys are going to be running very, very similar times here.
It's going to be a cracker race indeed, and so far, DMR, you were right there, that is Jean de Jager in first position over there. And we've got another DMR car right behind him. I mean, unbelievable stuff that this team has already started to establish themselves as the top guys effectively in the country, with SMP Pro, the gentleman we spoke about earlier on, Stefan Mocker, in 4th position as well. Breaking up the party is another RTA driver. We've got an RTA driver joining us later to give us the inside scoop. He is here at the moment, and if you can hear us, Stephen, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. So your
I'm
RTA
here. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, loud and clear. Your RTA guy is stuck in a DMR sandwich by the looks of things. Can you talk us through who these guys are, where they fit into the pecking order?
Okay, well, I'll start with the RTA guy since you brought it up. RTA DKP, he's a youngster based down in Cape Town with playing off a controller.
Nice.
Then we have a little bit further down RTA Safa in 6th place. He is one of the co-captains of the team, they're an international team with a bunch of French and Belgium, a couple European top drivers. They compete in GT Fusion, and RTA Safa was invited for a whole bunch of the South African guys to join him. So we've also got RTA Donkey, one of the top drivers. I don't see him on the top 8 at the moment.
He's in 11th position.
Looking at the DMR guys,
he's resting.
He's saving his energy for a fly, I think, because he's one of the quickest guys out here. He was one of our we have seasons in GT Sport SA, and he won 2 of the 4 individual seasons last year. Then on the DMR guys, DMR Dino, he is one of the team founders along with his friend Ron. They've brought in DMR JDJ. He's also a youngster, so we've all got our young guns in the teams. Along with him, DMR Taylor, I'm sure you guys know him from his sports car racing. There's also, don't see him on the list there, DMR AM Racing.
That's
Ruan, the other.
Ruan van der Walt, yeah.
Correct. And
so it does seem to be
we
like
also have
a couple of teams. There's a team battle that's going on here at the moment. There's quite a few guys that form groups, not just a bunch of individuals racing each other. So do you guys share information? Do you guys share setup information, etc., or at least track information? Because I mean, there's not much to set up on these cars for this race.
Yeah, I think these guys. I know DMR's been doing it. The odd time I've logged on just to have a bit of fun this week. They've had rooms open to practice. My teammates have been doing some practice as well. RTA Ian's also joined fairly recently. But then we also have some they're team members, but they're solo representatives. C8's Fluffy Butt, that's Stain. He's a member of the C8's team.
Yeah.
They've got quite a few members, but he was one of the fastest guys there. Also ex-GT Sport SA champion. And then we've got Caleb Pace, the founder of Pace Motorsport, and they've got quite a few very quick drivers as well.
Well, looking at these cars, Marius, can you also notice how these cars move around? I mean, doesn't it remind you of some of our local hot hatch racing as well?
No, but that's exactly that is purely road tires. So I mean, there's so much play in the compound, and that's what's going to end up happening with that. So in those situations, you're not sitting on semi-slicks or on slicks where there literally is no movement on the tire. And being all-wheel drive as well, and the suspension setup, these are road cars. So you must remember, they're not built to be racing lap after lap. They're made for you to be able to drive to work and race from robot to robot like every oak does. But that is it. So the compliance that's dialed into the suspension on the vehicle is for you to live with every day. And that is why you'll see that level of movement. You're not going to see that in a GT3 race car, of course not. But that is what makes it really cool from a driving perspective, because if you can minimize your driver input and keep that car as smooth as possible, you protect your tires. And that is what I think is going to be crucial in something like this. And if I go back, I mean, like if I look at the days when my cousin Mike Briggs was racing in Standard Group N, he was one of the best guys at front wheel drive, because it's very easy in a front wheel drive car to think you're going fast because you're spinning tires and you're making noise. But it's about not unsettling that car. And it's no different with the all-wheel drives here. You want to keep that car as stable as possible, minimize as much input as you can on the steering wheel or the controller, whatever it is that you're using, to ensure that you're putting in consistent lap times throughout that race. Stephen, I want to check with you. What is a good lap time around here? And what is the reality of tire wear over the course of the 40-minute race? Are the guys really going to be struggling with 10 minutes to go?
Yeah, thanks, Marius. The bigger issue in this race, I think, is going to be fuel management. The road tires that they're running don't wear too quickly. But I've been noticing on the different chat groups that I'm on, a lot of guys are talking about if you run this car flat out, after 9-10 laps, you're going to be out of fuel. And Gran Turismo actually changed their pit lane time that it takes, the algorithm. So previously, you'd pop into the pits, your car would automatically be in the pits, and then you'd be on your way out. But it has a bit of a delay set now. So instead of a 6-7 second pit stop, it's taking anywhere from 15 to 25 seconds, depending if you're fueling as well.
Okay, so so clear that up for us, because obviously now in Assetto Corsa for the first time we've started with fuel with pit stops. They do one compulsory stop, but now for you guys, it's you stop. You make the choice. You run it flat, hot, knowing that you're going to have to stop, or you go the economy run mode and try and do as few stops as possible. So there's a lot of strategy involved in that as well. So will the guys then change tires at the same time, or is it purely fueling?
I think in this race, we're probably going to have a lot of guys doing a one stop because of what I was mentioning earlier. And I think with it being one stop, they probably will change the tires. Tire delay adds an extra 2 seconds. So being a
it's
longer
worth it.
race, that extra half a second or 2/10 that they make with the new tires is obviously worth it, especially seeing as how the pit stop time is long already.
And we spoke, I mean, just remind us now as well, in terms of your damage settings on the car, what have you guys gone with in terms of that? And how do you manage incidents here? I mean, is there, if I run into the back of you, is that being controlled in-game? Because I know we've seen if you exceed track limits, you immediately get your penalty that is served right away in-game.
Yeah, well, in Gran Turismo, they do have a penalty system. And if you go on any of the forums, there's people spending their lives complaining about penalties that shouldn't have been given or should have. So what we've done as GT Sport SA, we generally have the contact penalty off, and we've set up a review panel, which has worked very well for us the last few seasons.
You should join us in our
mostly-
incident reports. They're quite spicy.
Definitely. We do get one or two guys that aren't happy with the decision, but we have 6 racers who are on the panel, and then the admin as well on the normal GTSA league. And I believe Vanna did set up a separate panel for this tournament. So those drivers aren't known, but they are obviously respected and very intelligent when it comes to racing etiquette and just judging the collision. So with the penalties off, obviously, if there's any incidents, we shouldn't see any really through this race. The top drivers are very good at it. It's more in the lower leagues that you have the odd bump here and there.
Yeah.
It'll be
And
interesting.
sorry, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Just interesting to see how much bumping there will be. And as we saw, Marius, the ACC guys, the guys have matured over the season, but this is our first ATK Pro Series running with Gran Turismo Sport. But as Steve mentioned, these guys have been running in various championships for a very long time. They've got their own championships running all the time. So effectively, you've got a bunch of experienced guys that are used to racing each other. They're now just racing on a bigger platform for a lot more to play for by the looks of things.
You know what the thing as well is, I mean, Ernest, in real racing, like that was always the fun part, is that you race a season, you know every guy that you're racing with. So you start understanding their strengths, their weaknesses, and you build up an understanding of what you do. So you can share track space together. And I think a lot of the time in the beginning, like the entry into the sim racing, you might be in an online forum and you don't know who the guys are, so it's chaos. But at least in a system like this now, these are guys, like you said, have raced together, they know each other. Same as what we've seen with Assetto Corsa. They're the usual suspects, a couple of new guys, but they're guys that have been in this game for a long time. And I think having different divisions, like we have amateur, pro-am, and then pros, I think is crucial in ensuring that the guys are learning. I don't know what's happening there. That the guys are learning to become better drivers and understand the racing etiquette as well.
Now, Marius, I think you might just mute there. Just let's see if it's your side. We're getting some.
I think we got someone on dial-up internet.
Yeah, I think somebody's trying to dial up like the old school with a dial-up modem.
Yeah. No.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me or who that is. No, it's fine. You can hear me, Ernest? You're fine?
Yeah, you're fine. I think that's fine.
No, what I was saying is, like, that's what we're going to realize. All of these guys, that's why we're seeing such good racing, because these are guys that are racing flipping week after week together in various forums, so they know exactly what is going on. So, you're expecting to see what happens in the real world. Yeah, these are not amateurs. But for me, it's super, super cool that we still have feeder systems here that guys can get better. They can aspire to make it. And I love the fact that there's a relegation division going, like we spoke about in our old rugby days. The first team played the second team, Copper Stump on a Tuesday, and like the best guys were always going to be the guys that were on the field for that game. And it's the same thing that we're trying to create here.
I don't know how you put it exactly the last time, but you said it keeps the second team hungry.
It keeps the second team hungry and the first team honest.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to have that talent bubbling under the surface. And we don't have many names here that we recognize and that we can talk about that are the outstanding guys. But I think that's going to happen soon. And I'm looking forward to seeing that deck get shuffled over the coming rounds.
I want to bring up one name. So when Stephen was chatting, I saw Lorenzo Gualtieri. And it's so funny to see Sav's speed on a Mercedes-Benz, because Sav Gualtieri is like an absolute master at making BMWs go crazy, stupid fast. And Lorenzo is his son, and it's like, I mean, that man, seriously can pedal a car. Incredible. So that's what I also love, is that we know the point to entry in motor racing is crazy. It really is a sport for those people that have. And like, I think, there's no disadvantage in terms of color. The disadvantage is money if you don't have point to entry. And that is what has been great for me in terms of sim racing, is that the accessibility to it. Karting, I mean, if you don't have the latest engine, not changing tires, it's become so expensive as a point of entry. But sim racing, getting legitimized, having Motorsport South Africa on board is something guys can actually really aspire to as a sport. Not to say I want to do this and then become a real racing driver anymore. I think those days are almost gone. I think the guys are just happy to be their very best in their sport. And that is what this is. It's a sport.
I agree, but I also in some ways disagree, because I do think there's going to be a component of the guys that want to migrate into into racing as well. But having said that, this does, for me, I wrote an article about this for Cars.co.za, today, and it was about how could this be the new go-karting? And I think it could be, I really do, because it's a similar sort of a thing where you've got what's supposed to be a relatively low entry point, and you've got a whole bunch of guys in similar equipment, and then you're figuring out who are the talented ones in that group. And, if that's one of the objectives of karting, then I certainly think sim racing ticks a lot of those boxes.
But you know what the cool thing is, Ernest? I mean, you're right. We all aspire. I mean, I would love to be racing professionally. I don't have the money, so it's not a reality. So the point is, I think that's what you get to, is that, growing up as a kid, and you don't have parents that can afford to put you in the go-karts but you can get your Gran Turismo and you start racing. And if you get given that opportunity to get into a real race car and prove yourself, fantastic. But the reality is, doesn't matter how good you are online or how good you are in a race car, you need funding. There's very little, even the Formula One guys. I mean, besides Lewis Hamilton and a couple of the top ups, most of the other guys come with money.
Yeah.
They come with money. It's paid for drives, yet they are the best drivers in the world, apparently. And that's still the reality with motor racing. So
100%.
I think that's just a reality check for guys. At least by legitimizing this as a sport and making it a career potentially, where people can get sponsors, they can learn to behave like real racing drivers, they can get noticed, and they can get picked up. Like now, the fact that Mercedes-Benz as a manufacturer in South Africa is saying, hey, listen, this is potential for us here. That adds massive credibility to the whole thing. So for me, that is massively cool, because it just gives the guys a reality check. So I'm not going to get into the Polo Cup car. I'm not going to be racing for real, but I can be the best at this.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that one. We're just having some technical issues on our side, but we're going to be getting that server up shortly, and we'll get to the racing. The two of us, Marius, I think we can chat some more. There's so much to talk about when it comes to the ATK Pro Series, and one of the things I want to touch on is the involvement of Mercedes-Benz. And as broadcasters, you and I, we're supposed to mention the sponsors, right? I think everybody knows that. But I am very, very stoked at the fact that there is a motoring manufacturer that's got on board with sim racing. I think it's a great move. I'm so happy that it's happened. I think it was going to happen sooner or later. It was who was going to pull the trigger first, and Mercedes-Benz was that manufacturer. And I think that's a good move.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's awesome in terms of, you and I have used that word, legitimizing this as a sport. So the partnership with Motorsport South Africa, obviously you see Kyalami Nana involved as well, because we always want to keep that tie into the real motor racing. And especially from a Assetto Corsa's perspective, the guys are racing all the new spec GT3 cars that we are privileged to be able to see in action, the last 2 years at Kyalami Nana with the Kyalami Nana race. And that for me is amazing. But having the manufacturers getting involved in this for me is crucial. What I would love to see is that commitment, like in the old days, to still get involved in the real racing element. Because to be fair, at the moment, it is like the VW show. And at the end of the day, it's not what they want. They want other manufacturers to get involved. So it would be great if Mercedes-Benz could look at taking that as a step forward. And maybe the incentive becomes, you guys win this, and we put you in a driver training program. They've got Clint Weston. They've got a lot of great guys that can teach you the ropes. And then you end up going into like the super hatch category, which is running. I mean, at the moment, people think it's just for VW cars. Well, it isn't. There are rules. Everyone can race in that. So that is what I would love to see happen as well, is that the manufacturers get committed here, train the guys up, but you want that next step. You really do.
Funny thing is that at the Mercedes-Benz AMG Center, one of the instructors there, shout out to him, won a other manufacturer's development program, which is a wonderful thing, and then went on to Super Hatch. But the COVID obviously, and the progression in South African motorsport isn't there, and sim racing allows for that progression to start. I mean, Junior McCall, 2 words.
12 years old. Oh, no.
12 years old. 12. For those of you the guys that don't know, Junior McCall is a 12-year-old kid that races now in the Pro Series. In the Pro Division, just got second position after starting in Pro-Am at the beginning of last year. So that is clearly a talented individual.
Listen, I mean, but that is, but I mean, it's like, where does, like I said earlier, I mean, he has a career that potentially he can continue playing down the road in terms of online racing, which is flipping awesome. But like you said, I mean, it's the other side of it. It'd be nice to see both working hand in hand, because that's what we saw during lockdown. You go and remember the virtual Le Mans race that they ran. Toyota Gazoo Racing ran their full flipping team in a virtual race.
It was a weird time. It was a weird time.
No, but because there is massive benefit.
Yeah.
So that is what you're wanting to see. And like a lot of top teams now have, like Mercedes-Benz overseas, their Formula One team, they've got their sim races that they sponsor to race in the various platforms online. So for me, that is cool if you've got that full integration. There's stuff happening for real on track so I can go and cheer along, and there's stuff happening online. And that, I think, is the strength of Mercedes-Benz with this partnership here, especially in what we're doing with Gran Turismo Sport, is that it is an ultimate showcase for their product. And what is nice is that I can get off this feed and go and plug in my Gran Turismo, and I can put my bum in the seats of a Mercedes-Benz car. So, what are they trying to do? Get people into dealerships. That doesn't really happen anymore. Well, now you can go and test drive the car in this type of format. So it makes a lot of marketing sense for them.
Yeah, a little birdie told me that there will be simulators where people can go to the AMG Driving Academy later down the line. That's all I can say about that. But I went to, as I said, the AMG Academy. We drifted some cars. We went around the circuit. It was an exhilarating experience, and I do like the direction of the newer AMG cars. They're starting to lean a lot more to performance. And then if you don't want the performance, you want the comfort, then you'll go for the E200 or whatever. But the AMG vehicles are very much performance-heavy cars like this AMG A45 we're going to see racing today.
Yeah, you know what the scary thing for me, though, is like, unfortunately, I know I'm going to get myself into a lot of crap saying what I'm going to say now, but the issue that we have in motoring at the moment is that people are getting themselves into vehicles that they shouldn't be able to pilot. The performance of an entry-level car now compared to when I at 46 was growing up, but what you learnt in a car that had no ABS, no power steering, no anything, flipping underpowered 1300, you learnt to drive, you learnt car control. Now suddenly with all the driver aids, it's fantastic, but the driver aids work to a point.
Qualifying 1 minute.
And then when it says, sorry dude, you're on your own, it's not happening at 80, it's happening at 180. And the guys find themselves in real risky positions. And I love the fact that guys like Mercedes-Benz have their AMG Academy, and they're trying to encourage guys to become better drivers. But you know what the problem is? Most guys go there not to learn anything. They want to see how fast they can go in a straight line. They want to skid a car. They want to do all the nonsense, instead of going there with the idea of learning how to get the most out of your car.
I like the nonsense as well, eh?
Yeah, no, of course we do. But Ernest, you and I have spent a lot of time in a lot of different cars. We've done racing. I don't get on the road now and go and race. And unfortunately, that's what happens. These oaks, the minute you find any slight curve in the road, the oaks stop dead because they don't know how to take a corner. But what they do know how to do is go from robot to robot, because these cars all have auto gearboxes, all-wheel drive, launch control, and you look like a superhero. But, but that for me is what I'd love to see. And that's where I think sim racing has a massive potential. If you want to go and learn to fly, you spend time in a flight bloody simulator. Now, why not create driver programs where you want to go and learn K53, please, the cuckest driving test in the world. But if you want to learn to be a driver, you should go through simulator programs that teach you to be a better driver before you're allowed to get your learners, if that makes sense.
Yep,
so we should be using this not only to race, but to become better drivers.
Well, one of the programs that's about to start is the qualifying, and this is it. This is where the guys get to learn to become better drivers
We're
in
qualifying again.
Gran Turismo
Yes.
Sport. We're going to get the qualifying results. Yeah, I think that would be it. Qualifying.
No, we're going to be starting qualifying.
Yeah, so it looks like what happened. We're going to have a very, very long night tonight, Ernest, you and I, because we actually now going to restart qualifying again. It looks like the server
crashed.
So we're starting from the beginning. You know what we should do though? It'd be great to make it a literally a 1 lap qualifying and see who can put that perfect lap together. Like you have a super pole.
I must admit, I enjoyed 1 lap qualifying when it was the thing. I really enjoyed it. Super lap. You get one opportunity, but it's
a different type of pressure. You're right.
Yes, I love that kind of pressure. And that's one of the reasons I like drifting and Gymkhana, because they're so compact. You've got that 90 seconds or 180 seconds or whatever, where you've got to be 100% zoned in and focused. Yeah. And you know, you get that element with that type of qualifying, but we won't be having that right now. We'll, by the looks of things, we're having another 10-minute qualifying. The server crashed. Would have been right at the end of those 10 minutes. But alas, another opportunity, I think. But
let's get right into it.
It's more than likely going to stay the same, I think. I think the guys will have found their pecking order for qualifying. But let's see if Dean Norke can once again get to the top of the charts. He was your fastest man earlier on. And the DMR guys certainly right up there. DMR DKP SMP3 Pro also doing well. But DKP notably on a controller. So these guys really doing some weird and wonderful things here with Gran Turismo 5. Gran Turismo Sport, at least. 5 was my favorite. 5 was my favorite. Bit of a throwback there.
But it's like 7's coming out now, which is crazy. I know there's been a lot of debate in terms of what 7's going to be like. That was quite a cool shot. Have a look at the guys using the drafting. And we heard from Vanna during the steering round. The drafting's a real massive thing. It's almost over-exaggerating Gran Turismo. So if you can tell that to get a good run into the complex and get good drive down these bank corners, I think you're in with a good shot. But it's so good to see guys realizing that they're not on a hot lap, getting out the way. And I commented on that during the seeding run, was to see, good airborne stuff. It was really cool to see guys doing that, getting out of the way. And that's the racing etiquette that Stephen was talking about as well. You know, if you're not on a hot lap, get out the way. Don't impede anybody else on their run.
Oh, on board now with trying to get some notes here. If we can just get a visual on who we're sitting with over here. 60 k's an hour through that corner over there. That's Fluffy.
Fluffy Butt. Say the full name. I want you to say Fluffy Butt 5 times. It's staying Neverhazen. I'm going to go with Fluffy Butt. I prefer that to Neverhazen.
Yeah, thanks, Stain.
He's a big Vettel fan.
He's a big Vettel fan. Oh, you got to cut that section all the way over there. Such an interesting corner. They're coming up to the long straightaway over here. You've got to cut that corner all the way on the inside. Notice how these guys are using their tire. Only touches the wall there. Touches the wall. I mean, you've really got to use the entire road here to maximize the speed and to get those exits. And these guys are all doing that. So it's about...
Let me get you excited. Your little home circuit at Kalani, obviously great racing this weekend with the Extreme Super Series.
Yes.
But I mean, there is a draft that comes off the pit wall. So the idea is to get yourself as close to that pit wall as well. So I mean, that's what the guys are going to try and do over here. But that margin of error is very, very fine.
But what I like is with these corners, you've got to thread the car left to right. And when you do that, you commit to the left-hander. Like they hit the bump over there, the car is automatically going to run to the outer edge of the course because these guys, look at this, because these guys are on the limit. I mean, look at that.
Two DMR guys are giving each other a good draft there.
Well, they are not technically allowed to do this. And
Stephen, what is the deal with that? Ernest picked up on that as well. I mean, are you allowed to do that?
We spoke about that the last time.
I have to double check. I know on seeding they said it was, but they didn't want it done because it was would affect the pool rankings. But we're racing now, so
yes. So the thing is,
this whole evening is going to be about the
Jonathan. Come in when you want.
Waiting for Jonathan, but as far as I know, there is no official rule for not drafting. There was supposed to be a gentleman's agreement, and the thing that I mentioned in the beginning was that the rule doesn't exist. The guys are going to do it, and here we are.
What are guys doing in Formula 1? I mean, of course.
I love
The
it,
team
man.
strategy is there. So
I love it.
you're right. Unless you put this in black and white and there's a penalty for it, they're just going to do that. The
I would.
thing is to time it so you're not getting compromised either side, you know?
Yes, 100%. And so far, Dino is timing it just fine. He was our fastest early on, and this time he's 1/10 of a second, looks like it, up on second place man, RTA DKP over there. That's, of course, Deacon Peterson. DMR, another DMR car in third position. And then a name that we haven't mentioned yet. I'm trying to pull up, but there we go. Lorenzo. Lorenzo is your guy that you were talking about. That is part of the Sav Speed stable, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I picked up on earlier. I said to you, it's very, very strange to see a Mercedes-Benz with SAF Speed branding on it. It's normally a black, mean-looking BMW, but there it is. Great pickup shot of that as well. And yeah, listen, Lorenzo's going to know how to pedal. He's grown up in a family of guys that not only know how to drive, but know how to set up cars as well. No setup required here. Obviously, all of them running stock standard. With a cool setup. But these are the pit stops we were talking about earlier. So the guys have a look, road tires, which are really cool, and the guys are going to need to fuel, as Stephen was saying. So that doesn't look like a road tire to me. That looks like a bit of a cut slick.
Yeah, the sports tires, as they call them in Gran Turismo. You have the race, sport, and then comfort.
Yeah, those are definitely semi-slicks over there. Look at that. I mean,
no wonder you said there won't be tire issues. Are they running on a hard compound for this? Because I know you can choose compound as well.
I didn't actually see the race settings, but I think it was hard or medium. I must just double check on it. I'll get back to you during. Another thing to look out for, I was mentioning about fuel usage earlier. The slipstream provides a huge saving in fuel. So what you actually want to do in the race, obviously in qualifying with the draft helps you get a better time, but in the race you don't want to be leading. You want to be the second, third, fourth car in the train, taking advantage of that slipstream, and when you pit you might have 5 or 10% fuel.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the guy that leads off at the start is not actually in the greatest position. So tactics, it's going to be very similar to your races.
Oh, that
you
is
have someone doing the work in front and everyone else saving energy for the sprint at the end.
Well,
Is your mic slightly away from you, Stephen?
If you're a cyclist, you know, you're going to turn around and want to slap the guy behind you if he's not doing his fair share of the work as well. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. You might find guys moving over saying, no, you have a run at this. But I mean, this track, having a look at the layout, I mean, the bank section isn't really long enough. Like a lot of the Motor 3 races, you see the guys on bikes getting into the last lap. They don't want to be leading because of the slipstream over the line. It doesn't look like that's going to be a strategy, but the fuel saving strategy is an interesting one. So thanks for bringing that up. It's going to be quite crucial to see how that works out. But the times are super close as we expected. Have a look. It's like 0.1 between first, second, 0.1 between second, third. It's going to be a cracker race.
Yeah, it's under second between the whole field.
Under second, cracker race indeed. On top we got Dino, second place Deegan, and in third place Juan. And as you were saying, Stephen, just between first position 20.9 for first and 21.6. Oh my goodness, that is 0.7 of a second between the top 12. Unbelievable. That is exceptionally close.
But this is what you get with single map racing. For me, that is what is so cool about it, is that if the pros are in there, there should not be guys that are 2 seconds off the pace. You know what I mean? And that means you're going to have a fantastic race when it gets to it. Oh, a bit of contact through there. Somebody on a cool down lap and somebody on a hot lap, and then
let's go to ad.
Well, that's it from us for qualifying, folks. We've got to go, Steve. Unfortunately, we've got to get to an ad break, but we'll be right back. Chat about the qualifying.
guys are live.
They are on their outlap at the moment, but they do look like they're going pretty high speed at the moment. The race is on.
Yeah.
Diamondino in the lead there. Sav Speed coin third position. He's
Jesus.
airborne over the bump.
Gran Turismo Phoenix.
The car went straight up there. So far, so good for Diamondino in first position. The guy's now one behind the other, nose to tail. A little bit of, oh, somebody's gone wide. DKP's gone wide. DKP's gone wide.
It looks
Deacon.
like we've got a auto drive, which is restart on the first attempt. Often happens with a poor connection.
Oh,
So the rule is that they restart once. The host will set the grid quickly, take about 2 minutes, and then they'll be straight back into racing. So unfortunately, a slight delay. Third world internet and things like that.
surprising.
Look,
that-
no, Ernest, I want to say that is the one thing. As much as I love sim racing, there's some issues that we're never going to deal with in the real racing world. Like, you're never going to be racing down the line and suddenly someone unplugs your car. You know, and that's what we've dealt with. And obviously, ESCOM, so super bloody reliable as they are with load shedding. We saw that causing major crap for the guys last year as well. But I mean, we are dealing with technology here, so that kind of explains what was going on for people that might be new to the stream and wondering why cars were doing some bizarre things. The drivers weren't losing their way; they were just server issues again.
Survey issues.
Yeah,
in-
on Gran
it should take about
Gran
2 minutes.
Turismo, sorry.
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gran Turismo, you notice there's those little orange cones on the apex points. Some drivers use them, not everyone does, but they are allowed. We run with racing line turned off though. Gran Turismo's physics are very strange. If you nudge a cone, you get what you saw at the start of that aborted start, cars ramping them into the
Wow.
stratosphere.
That seems very strange.
Yeah, it's very strange contact physics they got there. I often have a laugh surfing the internet and a photo pops up of a car launched into space. Guys actually use it for photo shoots. They do the liveries in space shuttle look and hit the cones and try to get a...
Glitch there. I mean, DKP though, definitely the big winner out of all of that, because all of a sudden he was Deegan Peterson. He was on controller, as we know, and all of a sudden he was on the left side of the circuit on the grass, and after that was when things started changing in game. So I think he's going to be the big winner out of this, because he would have dropped down to at least, I would imagine, 7th or 8th position. So the restart always and often benefiting someone, and always and often, the guy that's in front is going to be frustrated. I'm sure that's going to be Dean Noke. He's going to be frustrated, I'm sure, because you've all been there. You're in the lead, you've worked your butt off to get there, and then something like this happens. And now you've got to reset your mind.
It's the worst when it happens in a bloody race. You know, when you've done all the hard work and then you've got off to a cracker start and you've opened up a massive 5-car gap, and then some tosser goes and ruins it in the back, and you end up having a complete restart and you've got to do it all again. It's like the pressure of it all.
Yeah, the pressure
it works
of it all
both ways sometimes.
In this case, I think you won't be too unhappy, because the car that didn't make the start was DMR AM Racing. So it looks like he'll get his second chance, but the series rules are there's only one restart. So if anyone else disconnects now, they won't stop it again.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fair. That you've got to work around the constraint that we have, especially in South Africa. I mean, these are very unique environment that we're working on, and running a program like this as complex. I mean, this is a proper production, Maurice. We've said it over and over. It's a big deal. And I was just telling someone today that we are all running from remote offices effectively, and it's a massive operation.
If you could see me now, I know we lost a couple of days ago the legend that is Murray Walker, and he was always known for standing up when he was doing commentary.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that we are in remote offices without video cams turned on,
yes.
because being South African, I'm having a massive bra that's been served. So as I'm commentating, I'm chomping on a sirloin steak and boerewors in my mouth and a braai broodjie. So, I mean, that's how we're doing commentating. But I mean, that's at the end of the day, the reality of how far things have got. When I was doing Kyle Army 9-hour in December. We obviously look after all of the content and the production and making sure that what gets filmed goes to Supersport, but more importantly goes to the markets worldwide. And this was the first year that the commentary team weren't at the track. And the technology involved in terms of us sending low latency picture to them to commentate on, get it sent back to us, back through the van, and then send out the stream again. I mean, the delay was like 0.0 flipping whatever it might be. But the other commentators are sitting there commentating from their homes in the UK, which is crazy. But it just shows you what's possible from a tech perspective. So, technology has been forced to come up with some amazing solutions thanks to COVID in a way. Would the commentators like to be live at the race? Damn right. Obviously it's going to be hard for me to be at Blue Moon Bay, but I wouldn't mind having a go around this track.
Oh, look at all the crowds though. We were talking about that yesterday in the Pro Series set of Corsa.
Pre-COVID.
Crowds on outside the stands. That feels good though in a weird way as they head off into the distance. DMR Dino in the lead, a standing start then in the four-wheel drive cars. Who will go into the first corner first? Down the bank. They hit the bump over there. The guys are nose to tail. A little bit of touching happening in the back there. DMR Dino in first position, but right behind him is DQP. He's back in it, is Deegan. And behind that, Sav Speed in fourth position. And DMR TSM, that's Juan, in third. So pretty much the same are the guys at the moment. You can see the DMR cars in yellow and Sav Speed car in black in fourth. So the cone goes flying. No cars get airborne this time though. And the guys are now starting to settle in on first lap. Something with black in the background.
AM Racing disconnected.
Oh, so that's it then. He's disconnected. He is disconnected. The race will not restart as far as we know. DiMardino still in the lead, but DKP really getting up behind him very closely. Sav Speed car in third position now.
Yeah, I think this is what we're wanting. Sorry,
lost his wingman. DMR JDJ was a car that went ghosted there, just dropped back to 6th or 7th.
Okay, so he didn't get disconnected, did he just drop back?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on at the back of the...
Yeah, you're having out there. So DMR Taylor Yui there in fourth position. That is Ewan Taylor. Ewan Taylor stepping up into fourth position and then down the bank. And Marius, you were saying earlier on, to get that setup right, the car is bottoming that suspension out so hard. Oh, two cars touch the back there, but they stay in it.
I'm glad. I think they're all glad that they're running on road cars as well, because the compliance that's dialed into a road car from a suspension perspective, it can obviously do with a bit of a bump, and it's obviously going to wallow, but that's going to be easier for you to control and manage than a firmly sprung race car, because I think if you don't have it set up properly there, how you hit that dip is really going to be crucial, making sure your car's lined up straight. But interesting, nice to go on board and see a couple of different lines. We know that Dean has been super, super fast. He's the guy to pretty much watch in this. And he got the clean start that he wanted. I love the fact that it's a standing start as well. But as you know, it's like 37 minutes ago. It's a long race, 40-minute race in total. There are going to be pit stops for fueling. Fuel strategy is crucial. The guys can obviously try and do a bit of drafting. So at the moment, Dean is doing all of the hard work. And those cars that are running behind him, in particular DKP, is going to be benefiting big time down there. What is that going to mean from a pit stop perspective? Well, maybe in we heard 8 or 9 laps running flat out, the guys are going to need a pit. That might mean that DKP gets 2 laps extra out of it, and that can be a big, big change around when it gets to 5 minutes to go in the race.
Well, Dino's definitely going to want to hold on that slipstream, and I think Dino's hoping that he can shake off DKP at some stage, because that's the move. If he's able to shake him off, then that might be okay. But at the moment, this is a train of cars. They all seem to be settled in quite nicely. Sav Speed in third position there. We've got Taylor in fourth. RT Donkey, that's one of the guys that was touted to be one of the quickest here. That's Stefan Wessels. Down in sixth position, 3.2 seconds down in total. Cameras on him at the moment. RTA Safa,
Ernest, just something to comment on as well. We heard, I think Werner telling us in seeding, the big benefit that drafting obviously has, and especially at Blue Moon Bay, there's massive drafting abilities. Now you realize just how quick Dean is up front, because he is doing all the work. So, you know, for the guy sitting behind him, for Deacon in particular, he's got all the draft, so he should be able to suck straight onto the back of him. But the fact that Dean is able to keep that gap, you realize that he really is running a super, super quick pace. I see Lorenzo Guterres is coming right onto the back of, and using the draft to get sucked right onto the back of Deacon at the moment. So you really saw the benefit of the draft there, and actually Deacon also closed onto the back of Dean. So we're seeing what the guys were talking about, the ability of the draft here to give you a real shot.
Wow.
And just to give you guys a little bit more insight, is on the cars you have a setting for 6 different fuel maps. So to save fuel in this race, the guys are probably going to be shifting between them, possibly why you don't see DKP moving or looking to overtake Dean, as he might be shifting down to map 3 or 4 just to save that extra bit of fuel. Ideally, what you want to do in this race, though, is you don't want to be like the cars in 5th and 6th where that gap's opened up, because if they want to catch up, they're going to have to push and burn a lot of fuel, and that obviously is going to penalize them in the pit.
That's awesome, yeah, Ernest. That's awesome insight, because we obviously didn't realize that at all. So that makes a massive difference, because if you're in the draft, you can just dial back your fuel saving mode even more. So you're getting a double whammy. That's quite cool. And Stephen, is that quite easy to set? Is it just a button on the controller?
Yeah, it's just a button on the wheels. You normally have I use the little toggle dial that's on the Logitech G29. But everyone obviously has a preference. The most important thing to keep an eye on is on that speedo, there's a second of the fuel gauge, and watch that level as the race goes on between the front running cars.
If we could get our producer to go on board again with the Sav Speed car, I'd love to see that, because we could see the fuel gauge on the onboard, the driver cam. You can actually see the fuel gauge moving ever so slightly. Oh, there you go. The fuel gauge at the bottom there, bottom left. 170 km an hour for the Sav Speed car. Notice the tire wear as well. And he's just under 3/4 at the moment, running straight behind Deegan and Dean Norkay, who's currently in first position. I mean, these guys are nose to tail. Look at how close Deegan's getting to Dean over there. And the Sav Speed car now currently in 3rd position, just about 1 or 2 car lengths behind 2nd place. Behind that, we got Ewan Taylor and Kyle Oosthuizen. Kyle Oosthuizen, RTA Safa, and Stefan Vessel's also in the mix there. That's RTA Donkey in 6th position. So these guys doing really well. We're now on board with another DMR car who's dropped all the way down to 7th position. We saw him earlier on. Unfortunately, this was the car that was running, if I'm not mistaken, in 3rd place at one stage. And Virginia livery of the DMR team trying to claw his way back now in 7th position. But I tell you, the racing is so close over here. The racing is so close. And even just to gain 1 position seems, no matter how fast your pace is, to be a difficult task.
Yeah, but I'm loving this, that the drivers, big sideways moment there. But I'm loving the fact that there's so much that the guys need to consider when they're driving. And that's something for me that I think most spectators, most fans watching motor racing don't realize. And I remember 2 years ago when Sheldon van der Linde first got into DTM, and I was at the Norris Ring to go and watch him race, and hung out and went to the pits, and he was showing me all of the stuff that he had to do as a driver. So not only is he now focused on just keeping this beast of a car, not in the flipping walls that the Norris Ring are renowned for, but he had so many pushes to pass. He had so many DRSs, and then he had a little anti-turbo lag button, so he'd push that, and then that cuts the turbo lag as they come out of the corner. So you managing all of that, and that's what I love now with this, that the guys are looking at fuel mapping and thinking, this is not a 10-lap sprint race. I'm now, have a look at Gualtieri having a good run up the inside. He used that toe. He might have this move done.
He might have this move done. He backs it up.
Oh no, he's backed out of it. Oh, there's proper racing going on here. It looks like that is exciting.
That is the other DMR car. Taylor there in the outside. Taylor in the outside. DKP now in 2nd position there. That is Deegan. Oh, what's happening here? The shuffle is taking place, but Taylor trying to have a look on 3rd place, man. Sav Speed car over there. Sav Speed holds him off for 3rd.
But that's great racing, Ernest, because poor old Lorenzo was completely compromised when he came onto the bank. He obviously wasn't in tow. He had no slipstream, but went super defensive and did a great job holding off Taylor behind him. So
And he's
this
still
is what we
attacking Deegan,
love.
eh?
Yeah,
He's
but
still
this is
attacking
amazing.
Deegan. Yeah, Taylor
And
definitely
if you look
still.
at all that little battling just gave Dino 2 car without anything happening to DPP other than cars attacking him, probably watching his mirrors a little bit too much.
So, Steve, do you think that because of the slipstream, Deegan will catch up with Dino? Do you think
No,
It's
maybe-
he's
hard to
lost.
say without seeing what maps are doing. The tow on these cars, Gran Turismo's slipstream settings at about 0.7 of a second. So as long as you're in that 0.7,
He's 0.6 at the
you still,
moment.
But he's pretty much broken that toe. So I mean, that's the crucial thing. You want the guys behind to get sucked in a battle, and that gives you a chance to just, break out of the toe. So I mean, that is super close. I think the more the guys are battling, they're going to fall over each other. As we know, that ends up happening. But I think Dean has kind of pulled enough of a gap there. Whether Deacon's going to be able to slot back in is going to be quite interesting. He's going to need to go to I would go to optimal fuel map and just try and get back into that toe again and break the toe from the guys behind. That's what I would do right now. Change engine, change fuel map for Deacon.
what you can also see happening is your 5th, 6th and 7th train onwards have caught up slightly on their 3rd and 4th plane. So they want to watch out not to give them the slipstream, otherwise everyone's back in it.
We've got 3 RTA cars nose to tail, 5th, 6th and 7th position. Kyle Oosthuizen there in 5th place. We're now on board with Sir Ian in 7th position. The car's looking good with their similar livery working together. I'm sure trying to catch up with 3rd place car. 3rd place car now just up ahead, but you can see this train starting to compress, and now we're on board with 3rd place. Look at that, 1.1 seconds in total behind Dino, who is still currently in 1st position. And
Stephen, that's quite a big twitch over that back. It's radical. But Stephen, it's quite cool what you were saying there now, because if RTA are clever in terms of what they do now, they keep a very nice gap that is just within the slipstream window, and they just work on sucking each other along. Don't worry about me, I'm behind you. I'm not going to try and dive bomb you. I'm not looking to pass you. We're team working, like the guys do in the peloton in cycling. Let's work together to catch the front guys. And it looks like that is what's working at the moment and happening.
well, the fuel gauge is certainly working right now. They're just under half a tank at the moment in this 3rd place car. That's the Sav Speed car. Lorenzo is the gentleman's name in that car. And now look how he's giving 2nd place man Deegan a little bit something to think about here. Getting all of them getting up close and personal here. It's almost as if the move is available, but the guys aren't doing it yet. 27 minutes to go as they cut across the last corner now onto the back straight section. This is flat out now, 150 k's an hour, 4th gear.
The top 3 have broken away though. Have a look in the rearview mirror of Lorenzo
yeah.
at the moment. He's opened up a good gap there. He's desperately trying to hang on to Deacon in front of him, and he's obviously still in that slipstream window, but Deacon is all over the back of Dean up front. So listen, like I keep saying it, Dean's doing all the donkey work, all the hard work. He's breaking the air. He's having to push the hardest on fuel, but that is a hectic flippant transition. I mean, this is like, I'm sure the South Africans have built this road, because there's no subtlety over that little ridge.
It upsets the car so hard. So I keep expecting someone to spin out. Oh, we've got a bit of a race going on. 9th position touches the wall there. That's 9th, 10th.
So Ian's dropped down.
Yeah.
Side by side, the pace car looking good there as well. Pace car rubbing a little bit of paint there.
Yeah, so Ian's lost about 3 positions. He was part of the RTA team. Remember, they were running in that nice convoy I was talking about, but he's obviously made a mistake somewhere and lost a lot of positions, so won't be happy about that.
No, will not be happy about that. Trying to come back on the KLM pace car over there, but no dice. KLM pace car looking good in that pace livery. We commented on his livery the last time. And unfortunately, Team RTA car down in 10th position, but there is another RTA car in the mix up front in 2nd, and that of course is Deegan, still running in 2nd position, half a second now behind Dino. And Dino still within striking distance, certainly. Sav also, and now 4th place, Taylor starting to come into the mix as well. That's Ewan Taylor there in 4th position.
Yes,
he would have had to push and burn some fuel to get back in there, but it's a much safer option than being dropped and left to get swallowed up by the pack behind.
Stephen, that's a great point, because you kind of got to make that. It's a calculated risk to run on your own in fourth, making that hole through the air. You're going to maximize your fuel usage anyway, so you may as well do it for one lap, go maximum, put in a couple of good corners and get back on the train, and that's going to be your benefit. But I promise you, I love the single manufacturer racing. I would love to have all of the onboard telemetry accessible to us, Ernest, from a commentary perspective, so you can see what maps the guys are running, because there's plenty of strategy going on in here. But really nice to go on board with Dean, who's led from the start, and just quite cool to see. Is he running with a wheel or controller?
Dino's on a wheel, definitely. Another thing, I've just been watching the tyre wear, and there hasn't been much so far. Obviously, we're not quite halfway yet, but if someone decides to try and not pit, they could get a 2-3 second jump on the opposition, but then they're also going to be running with the benefit of slipstream, so
I wonder
it's quite a gamble whether
strategy. We're going to have to wait and see. And I mean, things are going to go crazy later on. If we look at the top 8 over there, we've got Kale in place in 8th position. Marius, you wanted to say something over there?
Yeah, I wanted to put Stephen on the spot. I mean, Stephen, if this was your race right now, and you're looking at the tyre wear, there's a little bit of wear on the front tyres, which we expect. It seems quite even left to right, which for me is quite surprising, because it seems like a very heavy track on the right front wheel. But the tyre wear seems quite even. Would you go for that? Would you go for that gamble?
I'm terrible at tyre wear, so I'd probably be running on a wreck tyres by now already.
But for Dean, if you were Dean right now,
for any of the guys here,
would you go without a tyre change?
Dean might contemplate it, but it's a big gamble, because if he does go without the tyre change, and he has to save fuel towards the end, because he's going to then carry on running by himself the whole time. Obviously, he's going to be at a disadvantage if the other guys catch up to him, but that also brings in another point. You overfuel a little bit, and if you do, that might give you the option to run flat out. The guys were running 21s in qualifying. I saw earlier on in the 22s during the race so far. I don't know if anyone's improved on that yet, but you can overfuel, spend 5 seconds longer in the pits, and then run the next 15 laps at a second lap quicker. It might also be worth. So there's so many different options here.
Plenty of permutations. I forgot to look at when we were on board with Dean to see what his fuel wear was like, because I would imagine him leading from start to finish, doing all the hard work. You know, he'd be sitting lower, but our director's telling us they're looking very similar to Deacon behind him, which I find amazing. So he's always got, maybe he's just super smooth in terms of how he's running his pace, and being able to, maybe it is a case of him knowing that he's actually got genuine pace in hand, so he's able to still keep the lead running on a lower fuel map.
Incredible to know. I mean, that would be awesome information to get. I think we'll chat to the guys after the race and try and get the inside information from him. But certainly, I mean, look at this. We've got 4 cars nose to tail. We've got Dino Noke there in front. Dino Noke, Deegan in 2nd position, the Sav Speed car in 3rd, Ruben Taylor in 4th. These guys are so close. It's still anybody's race. We've got 22 minutes of racing left. 5th position, a little bit down below Kyle Westhuizen. But certainly the top 4 now could be anybody's game. I do think Dean looks cool enough, but we haven't seen any of the other guys come on the attack yet. I think, Steve, do you think these guys are going to be attacking anytime soon?
I think they're going to wait for the pit stops. I'm just watching the Sappho's brought the gap down by about 3 tenths to the pack ahead. So I'm not sure if him and Donkey have been fueling, or they could also be running a strategy to try catch up a little bit before the pit.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have 2 major turning points on this race that will decide it. It's going to be who puts in fuel, how much they put in, how much they've saved, and then once they come out the pits, it will also balance off what the other guys have done. You might have the front group split into 2, depending on who's saved the most. They could come out all together more than likely, and then it's going to be the same till the last 5-6 laps, and then they're going to start pushing at the end.
Stephen, here's the question now. Sorry, Ernest. Can these guys run simulation on that? Would they have been seeing flat-out laps in different fuel maps to know how many laps they can get? What's the mindset of these guys in terms of making this legitimate? This is the real deal. We've run all the simulations. I mean, are they doing that?
All the teams are practicing together, trying different strategies, seeing if the one stop was quicker than a two. I think the main thing that the teams would consider, though, most of them start with just doing a flat-out trial, see what lap time they can get, and then obviously they realized, okay, if you can only get 10 or 11 laps, if you're pushing flat-out, this race.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Fuel out there.
Now, and on the other car, we saw there was still quite a bit of fuel left. So there's definitely a difference on how the driving styles affect the fuel. I mean,
this one. Have a look. No, so first and second. I mean,
and then third. Is this first and second? If our
producer can get us third or fourth?
Yeah, we're
so
on DP now.
Well done, Daniel, for giving us that as our director, because that's quite interesting. I mean, I just assume that Dean has ultimate pace here and is running a different fuel map, that he could lead the race from start to finish down a bank circuit like this, having to brake the air, and everyone else is getting a free ride behind him, yet they're sitting on the same fuel.
Yeah, they're all pretty much on the same at the moment. That's third place on the same or similar.
I think third place has probably almost run out of fuel on that. It looks like
now,
he's probably
all going to put together.
Was that a lap difference, or was that? Or do you think that's a lap difference?
You're all putting together.
They're all pitting. Okay, cool. So they're all pitting at the moment. Let's see what happens now. Top 4 so far in the pits. Top 5, top 6. 6 cars. All of
DK
them.
had
All of them.
Dino had 1% fuel. DK had 6% fuel. Most of the other guys are on 1. I see Fluffy's on 3%. Taylor was on 0, so he was about to coasting.
So basically, we over halfway, so they're going to fuel less than what they started with. So this is the benefit, whereas like you're saying, Deaky sitting with 6% fuel left, he can actually take on less fuel and maybe get a jump in the pit stop because he's spending less time stationary. Is that the idea?
I wonder. We're going to see now what happens.
He's got it.
He's coming out together.
Dino's
right.
He's done all of that. Dino gets him down the inside in the pit lane. Was that even legal? Dino gets in. They exit the pit lane. Dino in the lead. DKP had the lead but lost it.
But that shows you that's just putting in slightly less fuel. So he actually got the advantage through saving some fuel during the drafting that he was able to do, running off the back of Dean.
Oh my goodness, Sam, the big loser over here though. A little bit has fallen off a little bit there into third place, but Ewan Taylor still in 4th position. Safa, Kyle Oosthuizen still in 5th. So not much has changed. I do see Kalen there. KLM Pace has gone from 8th position into 7th, swapping with Stain. So I think Stain being a bit of a coming off second best there, dropping down 1 position.
Stephen, that's quite cool. We saw that mirror effect there. So, I mean, coming out of the pit lane, there's obviously no car. You kind of picking your line, and then there's a line that they cross where cars become realities again. So, you know, for Deacon, he didn't have to worry there. It's kind of foot flat and get out of the pits as quick as he can.
Yeah, Dino would have been... You could have actually seen him just for a brief moment. Dino was ghosted with part of his car actually inside him, but as they separated, then the car became solid. Another interesting thing there, though, is we can't see, or the director could probably give us a little bit of the idea. Dino would have been able to see what the other cars, they get the same screen with the percentage of fuel. So if you see that the other cars got 6% and you're on 1%, when you coming out the pits to end your fuel, you can decide just to put that 0% or 0.2% less.
You've got to change
to make
that.
sure you stay in front.
You've got to change that because, you know, nowhere in racing, that is where strategy comes into play. So everyone on the pit lane is guessing what the strategy is. But if you're giving me that strategy, I know exactly what the fuel damage is for the opposition. You kind of take away the strategy game. So is there no ways that you guys can sit and mask that? Because I would hide that. I want the guy not to know.
tells you only when you come into the pits how much each car has, and so you don't know what's going on during the first stint, and you also don't know how much the guy's putting for the second stint. So one guy could underfuel.
Sure, but it's still changing. It's giving you that insight that, you know, the guys, your pit mechanics, your pit lane manager, your race engineer is going to speculate, he's going to think. But now he knows for a fact. So as you come in, you're going, oh, okay, he's going to put in slightly less than me. He could get the jump on me in this pit stop. So it'd be nice to see that not being available to the guys. But I know it's probably an in-game setting you can't change.
Whew, that corner.
Yeah, it's a permanent fixture, you know, getting very squiggly there.
That corner is always so tricky over there, isn't it? And this one following up as well. I mean, look at how close these guys go to the wall here. I mean, it just shows that these are the best guys because they've been doing this lap after lap, cutting it so close, going right up against the wall there. I'd really just like to move the camera a little bit further back down the grid because we've only been focusing on the top guys up until Kalen and Stain in the top 8. But I'd like to have a look further down the grid and see what the rest of the guys are doing at the moment. And see what's happening there. We've got some more DMR guys over there. And Steven, you can just walk us through 9th through 11th place, if you wouldn't mind. That's
9th is JD Diop.
That's Juan. That's Juan.
Yeah. He was our 3rd place starter, so he must have had a little bit more time in the pits than some of the other guys. Followed by his teammate SMP3 Pros.
Also
RTA, so yeah.
And Stefan Mark also tipped to be someone to watch today down in 10th place. I'm sure he's not going to be happy with that. It just shows they do have the pace, but I think once you're in that position, it's a bit difficult to claw your way back with this quality grid.
Definitely. Any of these guys could win any race on a given day. It's how much time they've spent practicing and working strategies out here. It looks like Safa and Taylor Yu are having a nice little battle now. Obviously, Taylor lost out with having that very low fuel right at
Yeah, Marius, you were saying Taylor now in 4th position, Safa battling it out in 5th.
Honest, the difficult thing as well is it's like very, very difficult to catch up when you're all running the exact same car. You know, the tiny little adjustments you can make, but that is the thing. Qualifying in single make is crucial, and how you manage your race then becomes the A game. You know, if you end up not qualifying well, you're sitting further back and you're getting involved in dogfights and it's very, very difficult to make up that difference. So you know, now you're kind of trying to get the best result you can, and you start thinking about the next race already. And that's what we were talking about earlier, the fact that every race is a different Mercedes-Benz. So you really have to have an all-round driver skill set here, because it's not just about, I can drive a fairly underpowered all-wheel drive hot hatch compared to a Formula 1 car, I can nail that. But you've got to be really competent in all of the cars. And that for me is what I find particularly enjoyable about what we're seeing here today. And this type of racing with the Gran Turismo Sports Series, I think is really cool because it's an all-round driver we're going to crown at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, today we're driving the A45 AMG 4MATIC 2013 version at Blue Moon. Round 2, which is happening on the 12th, will be back in the SLS, but this time a Group 4 car. So slightly less potent than the GT3, but also I'm sure just as tricky to drive. And that'll be on the 12th of April, where we will be back for round 2. But at the moment, round 1 continues, and we're on board with RTS for that is Kyle Oosthuizen in 5th position, just behind Ewan Taylor, DMR Taylor, Ewan in 4th. And then the top 3 guys, still Dino, DQP for a brief moment led the race as they were exiting the pit lane, but unfortunately lost that position as Dino snuck back into 1st place there. I'd love to see a replay of that. I'd love to know what happened there from both drivers' perspectives, because that was, I think, an opportunity missed there for Dino.
Yeah, but I think it was purely just a fueling thing, and at the end of the day, like that ghosting feature they have on the game allowed both of them to have an equal chance to get going. You're not having to dodge the car in front of you, so it gives you proper track position. But I think like we heard now from Steven, I'm assuming that Dean just went, okay, this is what I need to put in. I know that Deacon ran with a better fuel run, so he's going to put in slightly less. So maybe he's going to fuel with himself a couple of litres less to make sure he can secure that lead on the way out, knowing that it's going to be quite difficult to play a catch-up here when they're running quite similar paces.
Yeah, similar paces indeed. These guys nose to tail at the moment. The 122.2 there by DTP on that previous lap. 4/10 of a second down on first place, Dean Norke. Tav Speed Car still in third position. I'm sure he's going to be happy with that podium finish here today. The top two guys now still battling it out. They're just looking at
Nose to tail.
Look at how close that gap got all of a sudden now. Is DTP starting to apply the pressure? Has he had this in reserve all along? A nice line through there, trying to get the car as straight as possible, going into the hard left-hander, and then onto the main straight. They've got to cut the corner so close and not touch the wall on the exit. Now flat out now, fourth gear, 150 k's an hour. They've got about 3/4 tank. That should take them through the 10 minutes that they've got left of racing. Fifth gear, 180 k's an hour now, and down what is frankly a very, very long straight, especially in a car like this one.
Yeah, I was gonna try and get Stephen in this as well, and just say, yeah, when I look at this circuit, I'm not seeing any compound corners here. So you've kind of got one optimal line. It's not like you've got a couple of options. So it's like Swartkops in South Africa. That is the line through that corner. And that makes it quite difficult. The bits that I would imagine looking at this that are crucial is the entry onto the bank and the exit off the bank. You know, if you get your car right here, that's where you're getting the best drive, and you can compromise your lap on those 2 points. Am I right, or am I still talking nonsense? I'm just looking at this and I don't see different options on lines.
Making a mistake in that last turn before the banking would be almost fatal to your race here if you're one of these long tracks, because you could lose 3 or 4 positions. I think the main overtaking opportunities would be this corner that we're watching the guys just go through now, the little hairpin, and then down into turn 1 with a good slipstream once the guys are right towards the end and start pushing.
I'll be interested to see that happen. I mean, we're coming down into the last 10 minutes now, Steve. When do you think these guys will start pushing?
I think this pack here is pushing as hard as they can. Our front two, I'm not too sure about if DK is playing games. You don't know how much fuel Dino put in. If he did try fuel a little bit short, that means he's going to have to save, which will leave him vulnerable. But he could have also put in more than DK, and just that small gap he had might have been enough to save him coming out the pits. And he was also very clever when he came out there. DK pulled to the right to get towards a banking on the racing line, and I'm not sure if it was intentional or not on Dino's behalf, but he stayed on the pit lane slightly longer, which gave him the inside.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings over there. KLM Pace getting 1 position from 8th earlier on, 97th position. Fluffy over there. Stain was in 7th, dropped down to 9th. So he's not going to be too happy about that. 8 seconds down from the leader. Dino still in the lead. DKP in 2nd position. Sav Speed Car in 3rd place, but getting so much harassment.
That's a good battle at the moment to watch, though, is the battle with Lorenzo and
Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor sitting right in his tail. I mean, that for me is the action at the moment on track. And what is quite cool is that RTS Safa is getting a sniff of this, because he's seeing they are holding each other up. And we've got 2 teammates behind there as well that are dragging each other along, RTS Donkey and RTS Safa. So this is a race to watch at the moment. I think it's going to
that is looking ominous. We're getting some info on Dino over there in the front position. DKP and Dino in the top 2 positions, but now looking at Taylor in 4th place. I mean, what is going to happen? I'm waiting for someone to make a big move over here, because we've only got 7 minutes and 15 seconds left. This is a long circuit, a relatively long circuit with a long straight. Someone's going to have to do something very soon, or we might see a ending where the standings are the same, but I doubt it though. I'm expecting
something's going to happen here, because Ewan looks like he's got proper pace, and it looks like Lorenzo's really just holding on at the moment. You know, he had good pace. He was sitting on the back of the front 2. He had his podium secured. We've got 20 minutes to go, so we've got the fuel stops. Have a look at the wider line. That's Ewan took coming out of that corner. So this, for me, like I said, is the battle to watch at the moment. And RTS Safa and his teammate Donkey are getting sucked into this as well. So at the moment, he should be in the slipstream there, just on the back of him. So he'll start closing lap after lap. So I think we could be in for a grandstand finish for the final podium position, with what I'm predicting to be 3 or 4 cars battling for their final podium spot.
Yeah, Safa
Definitely,
now.
and what-
Yeah, please go ahead, Steve.
Sorry. I was just going to say what Morris was saying about Lorenzo and Taylor. On the first stint, Lorenzo had the slipstream ahead of him to drag him along and help defend, which obviously he doesn't have now. And if those guys fight like that, Safa and Donkey were just on a second behind in that gap, that slipstream gap of 0.7. But obviously with them fighting, that's going to bring the 2 cars behind into it. Also saw up front, it looked
Dino and Diki have identical fuel loads, so nothing in it there between the top 2 guys, but the
I don't
battle
care.
we're
Yeah, I
talking
don't care
here.
about them. This is a cracker battle. I promise you, this is going to be amazing. Because have a look, he's right in the back of me now. So every single lap, that slipstream is becoming a real benefit. And have a look, Lorenzo's already starting to go defensive, picking a couple of different lines, which is only obviously going to benefit Ewan at the back. But this could be a really great battle for the final podium spot. This is amazing. With 5 minutes to go. Oh, cracker.
Kyle Oosthuizen and Stefan Wessels now within striking distance of 3rd and 4th position. And like you said, Marius, this is for the final podium position. So the
Way
pressure
better drive out of that corner. Check it in. He's actually got a good toe. He got good drive out of that corner.
Let's
I think
see.
Ewan's all over the back of him now.
180 kilometers an hour in 5th gear at the moment. They've got that left-hander coming up now. 200 k's an hour. The Sam Speed car goes to the left. 4th
Trying to
place
break the
over
toe.
here
Check it
is
out.
going to try and break the toe. Go around the outside. They're going into the left-hander now. What's going to happen here? The first time we're starting to see some action with 5 minutes remaining down the outside. Inside lane gets covered by the Sam Speed
Got
car.
an
Sam Speed
undercut.
car
Got an
gets a
undercut.
touch. Gets the undercut. Oh, it's a
This is
close
proper.
one. This is proper
that
stuff.
little touch
Hey.
cost him some momentum.
Yeah, but you know what?
Just looking on the
I'm-
track map, just
Yeah, say Stephen.
no, sorry, my computer broke up a little bit there. I was saying on the track map just now, it actually looked like Dino's opened a couple car links on Diki, so he might be out the slipstream by now. I'm not sure if Dino's putting a little push on at the end. This battle,
Oh,
I
down the
suggested
inside.
overtaking
Down the
spot.
inside. Gives him a bit of a touch on the back bumper there. This
No,
is
this
such
is proper.
close racing. Such close racing.
This is proper racing.
Group
You know,
in.
exactly, group in, and I don't mind seeing the touching and the barging. And you actually saw he had way better drive, and Lorenzo tried to
Oh,
break
look
the
who's- yeah,
slipstream.
look
Look on
who's
the back, Saf is all over the back of
Yeah.
it now. So as we predicted, with 3.5 minutes to go, suddenly we would have literally. Definitely a 3-car, but probably a 4-car battle for the final podium. But seeing a different line, so yeah, I think he's got him here now. He's got way better drive out of the corner. Here we go. This is going to be the pass.
Going inside, it's a long straight. There's plenty of place to gain speed. There's plenty of place to gain that slipstream. Down the inside goes the Taylor car. I'm trying to get some visuals now.
No, he's got
Inside
it.
line.
He's got it. He's got it.
Looks like he's
That's
got
a
it.
great move. Great move. So well done. That's the pass done there. Has to be.
Lorenzo hanging it on the outside.
He can't be there forever. There's no ways.
Closes it down and takes back
That's
3rd
great.
position.
That is great.
Lorenzo's always been one of the great defenders in our league.
Yeah, his dad taught him all of his skills.
Oh,
That for me was
my
the pass done. He had way better drive out of that corner. He did a fantastic job to hold on to that, because I thought that was done and dusted.
That is
big,
move of
big
the
set of
weekend.
Galtieri Brassies over there. That was
Of
nice.
the weekend, I'm a fan. I'm a fan now. That was the move of the weekend.
That was proper. That's keeping your composure like that and knowing you're on a compromised line, running outside. There's a guy diving up the inside, and you still keep the composure. Well done. Brilliant.
Unbelievable stuff. You were talking about the pedigree earlier on. I mean, these guys have a rich history in motorsport in South Africa. Not necessarily running with this manufacturer, but this is the Pro Series, and you run what you brung today. You all get the same car, and we're going to figure out who's the best. And this is what we get. This is the kind of racing you get when you have a one-make series like this.
But look at this. I mean, they're all now on full engine map. Check Lorenzo trying to break the toe. So this is what becomes so tricky, because it's like, I've tried the outside, didn't work. I've tried the inside, you blocked me again. So, I would kind of give up this lap now because it's too far back, and give it one last go with 2 minutes to go. That's basically what he's got left.
But look at that now. We've got Kyle Oosthuizen starting to come into the mix there. He's going to upset the apple cart here if he's able to get down the inside of Ewan Taylor, because that would mean that Ewan Taylor would then have to go defensive and lose any sort of claim that he's got on trying to catch up with the Sam Speed car in 3rd position over there. So what will happen over the next 1 minute and 33 seconds or so as we make our way towards the checkered flag? These guys now, everything to play for, 3rd position, podium at stake. Who is going to take it?
This is some of the best racing I've seen in bloody ages. I mean, this is what we would like. I mean, this is the racing you want to see as a spectator on the stand. You're not allowed to go and watch it on the stands, but that's a great thing about the ATK Pro Series, is we bring the racing to your couch. It's amazing. And I think these guys have put on a great show.
Oh, fantastic show so far. Such fair racing, such tight racing, such professional racing. I've got to say, the mistakes that these guys have made, just look at that. They're right up against the wall. Two cars doing the exact same thing, touching that wall with the mirrors.
That's game over though. So he's made one or two little mistakes through turn one, which dropped him off the back of Ian dropped off the back of Lorenzo. So I think Lorenzo's now safe with literally no time to go. Look at the gap that he's opened up. So trying too
This will
hard.
be the last lap.
Yeah, just trying too hard, Stephen. You know, little mistakes, trying to break a little bit late, getting the car all over the place, and that's costing him that position. But great driving, kept us entertained.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, these guys are doing a
Safa's
great job.
got a good run out that corner.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, all of these guys. I mean, the tires are cooked. They've been going at it for 14 minutes or so. 14-minute race today, 15 seconds left, or 10 seconds left of that 14-minute race. And then the guys will have to do another lap. Someone's run wide there. Someone's run wide.
Donkey.
Donkey's run wide there.
Donkey.
And
The grass is looking a bit long, I'm not going to lie. So he's obviously just trying to help the groundsman.
the circuit,
Blue
yeah, Blue Moon Circuit maintenance needs to be sorted out. Yeah, I'm not happy with it.
a lot of rain in the off season.
Yes, but this is the start of the new season. I suppose they weren't ready in time for the start of the Pro Series. But here we are.
Here comes
indeed.
our winner.
The stands are full. Yes, here comes our winner. 2.3 second lead is Dino. Dino in the 111 AMG A45 Mercedes-Benz across the line to take round one of the ATK Mercedes-Benz Pro Series. DQP gets second position. Sam Speed gets third. Taylor gets fourth position. Carl Westhuizen in fifth. And confirmed there, KLM Pace, the big winner. KLM Pace coming all the way down from 8th position into 6th place. Well done to him. RTA Donkey falling back into 7th. So, wow, what a race that was so far. Whew, guys, we're going to go to an ad break, and we will be back after this with the official results of the Mercedes-Benz ATK Pro Series. Podium positions look like that. We've got Lorenzo. How do you say that surname, Marius?
Lorenzo Gualtieri.
Gualtieri.
So Lorenzo Gualtieri in third, Deacon
Yes.
Peterson in second,
Correct.
and then obviously D Nokia winning our opening round of the ATK Pro Series for Gran Turismo Sport. But you were saying during that break, you are buzzing. This was fantastic bloody racing.
Yeah.
Super stoked to have the guys on board. And Stephen, I mean, you guys really have done yourself proud. Great racing.
Great, thanks. I'd like to take credit, but I think the practice put in the race admin side, we obviously just try and encourage all the guys to take part. If there's anyone watching that's got Gran Turismo at home, they think they a noob or not talented enough. I think our last season at 220 drivers. There's place for everyone, and who knows? Like Dino joined us January last year, and here he's a year later, first place on the Pro Series.
But you know what the lucky thing is, Stephen, like we always in racing, it doesn't matter where you are in the field as long as you're going door to door with someone. And that is the cool thing, is that not everyone's a pro. Everyone starts somewhere. So having the different divisions, you are going to be in for a race. And the whole idea is to, and we've seen it, the upskilling, where guys that started out as amateurs are now at the end of the season racing in pros. And that is progression. And it's nice that you guys have that set up as well. But that was amazing. Really, really good.
Really amazing stuff there. The Sav Speed car, as we said, in third position. Peterson in second place had the lead for a brief moment, but then lost it again to someone that could, other than that moment, had pretty much raced a flawless race.
Dude, I'm going to call it. I think he had, I said it a few times, I think he had out and out pace throughout and was able to kind of just manage the race from the front, knowing that he's kind of using more fuel. I think he was flawless in terms of how he executed that race. And I think we saw it at the end. When it came down to it, he went, okay, I'm tired of playing, 8 minutes to go. Let me just show you the real pace that I have. So that for me was a fantastic race by Dean. But obviously when we go racing on the 12th of April, it's a totally different kettle of fish. Then we're in an SLS, a lot more horsepower, different circuit. So let's see, he's good in all-wheel drive. What's he going to be like with the rear-wheel drive?
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. We see their best lap there by second place man, Deegan. So certainly DKP over there in second place has got some pace in hand and can walk away from this knowing that at least he had the fastest lap in the race and got second position, which means he's still...
Can I ruin that for him a little bit? He had the slipstream too. So I'm just going to say, so great work, but very difficult to lead a race around a circuit like this without a slipstream. So sorry, I'm just going to be the truth.
I'm trying to hand something to my man over there. But someone that certainly has earned his stripes today is Lorenzo Gualtieri there in third position. I mean, for me, move of the weekend, it was... what I saw there was him stringing together a sequence of corners, not as separate corners, but as a sequence. It was a high level move that he pulled off there. That wasn't an easy thing that he did to gain that position back again.
No, but Ernest as well. I mean, showing the racecraft, because he now knows, he's dealing with real slipstream behind him. So, he was kind of moving left, moving right to break the toe, which he's allowed to do. And it really put pressure on Ewan to kind of think, let me try the outside. Okay, that didn't work. Let me try the inside. And I called it. I thought, that is it. The move is done. But the fact for Lorenzo to hang on around the outside, knowing that if he stays there, the next corner is a right-hander, he's going to have the advantage there. So that was fantastic racing. And that is something that you learn when you're racing in cars like this, is racecraft. It's not about horsepower. You're not going to say, well, I'll let him get away in the corners and I'm going to nail him in the straights. Yeah, you've got to be an all-rounder. You've got to carry speed. You've got to nail every single corner, and you've got to learn racecraft, how to go defensive when you compromise with drafting. So we really saw some grandstand racing today. It was amazing.
Some amazing stuff all the way through the grid, and I really do want to pay tribute to the guys on the grid. All 13 of you, well done. Fantastic driving for the 12 guys that finished. Unfortunately, one of the guys did disconnect early on, but for the rest of the 12 guys, I mean, it was high quality racing all the way through the field. Exciting racing to watch as well. The big winner for me today, KLM Pace. He picked up quite a few positions. At one stage was running in 8th position, up into 6th in a group where not many people gained much. So KLM Pace in the car that looked good, also a big winner yet today.
Yeah, it's just what we said, Stephen. It's what we thought. These sort of races, the qualifying is crucial because everyone's running the same car. So you really do need to nail qualifying and then get your strategy right as well. Just looking ahead to the 12th, Circuit de St. Croix. I mean, what is that track like? It's obviously another Gran Turismo special track.
Yeah, it's one of the Gran Turismo originals. It's a very fast, open track. Almost like a road course, or I think it's actually designed as a road course based somewhere in like French countryside. I can say one thing. I know Dino's done a lot of practice on that track specifically in the past, just from practicing and messing around online with him. So he'll be one to watch there again. I also noticed on the drag to the line, Safa overtook Taylor. I think Taylor must have run out of fuel again because he was right behind Lorenzo in fourth place, and he ended up 2 seconds behind. So he must have run out on that last strip.
Geez, well done for picking up on that, because you're right. I mean, Ewan was all over the back of Lorenzo, so good job picking that up. So again, that's kind of strategy perfection. That was proper epic fail there. But like you said, he coasted in earlier on the first fuel stop and really just had he probably went to school with me in Alexander Road in PE where maths wasn't our forte, and he just got his fuel calculation slightly wrong.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for picking that up, Steve. I mean, I cannot believe that Taylor, after all that fighting, Taylor fought tooth and nail for that 4th position, and then to give it away like that on the last corner. Can you believe that? Unbelievable stuff.
It was probably the last couple hundred meters, but I think it was worth it for our sake. I don't know if you'll agree, but all that attacking burnt up that 100 meters worth of fuel.
Yeah. Well, folks, we will be back in the Group 4 SLS, a very powerful car. It's a big jump from what the guys are used to driving over here, 400 plus horsepower in that car for the next round. But that is then right now. Congratulations to the winner. He will be happy to be celebrating Dino in first place, DKP in second, and the Sav Speed car Lorenzo in third position. A fantastic day's racing. From myself, Marius, and the rest of the team, Stephen, thanks so much for joining us today and giving us all that technical information. Marius, I'm sure we can both agree this was fantastic stuff. I'm going
to go race my lawnmower now, because that really got me fired up. I need to actually upgrade my Gran Turismo for sure. I want to be able to go and see if I can do that. That was cracker. I really enjoyed it.
I did so too. Enjoy this, but I'm gonna be powering up my PlayStation or anything I can find with the wheel right now. Need to get this out of my system. You guys have excited me so much with this fantastic racing. Congratulations, Team Gran Turismo. A good night's racing at the ATK Pro Series powered by Mercedes-Benz. We'll see you guys at round 2.